The 13th and final principle of Jewish faith, as enumerated by Maimonides, the Rambam, who is one of the giants of Jewish history, and a sage whose opinion is accepted by virtually all other sages in Jewish tradition, is the principle of the resurrection of the dead, Tchiat HaMetim. And in the words of the Rambam, I believe with complete faith that there will be a resurrection of the dead whenever the wish emanates from the Creator. But before we look at life the second time round, let us hear from leading voices who share their thoughts and their assessments on what life itself is.
I see the process of birth as an absolute miracle. When you consider that the timing of birth is the combination of mother and baby factors, and the circulation of the baby in the uterus is actually quite different from that of the child once it's born. In the uterus, the lungs are bypassed more or less, and with that first breath, as the baby gasps when it's born, the circulation changes immediately. The duct bypassing the heart or the lungs so that the circulation will take oxygen. The lungs expand and the baby breathes, and the circulation changes into the same form as we know as an adult. And I don't know how anybody could have thought that one out. To me it's a miracle. To me it's the hand of God. The miracle is not only the birth of the baby, it's all the changes that precede it, that come together with conception, that happen during the development of the pregnancy, culminating with the birth of the baby. Very often with ultrasound, you can see the heart beating even before you can see the size of the baby. You get the little flicker of the heartbeat. And how the brain develops, how the limb buds form. It's actually quite astounding, the embryology of what's going on in those first few weeks of pregnancy.
I think that it is so complex that there needs to be somebody to direct the development and the structure of that particular organ. The brain is probably the most complex organ there is, and we haven't really discovered everything about it. It's very clear that we understand every month, every year, we understand more about the brain. And yet, we still don't know exactly how the brain processes are selected, how they were established, that to enable us to do things now that didn't exist a long time. Everybody even thought about the engineering that we do and all that. So it couldn't have been pre-planned at that stage, except by somebody who was in fact a person who had the total knowledge and the sublime and the supreme knowledge of what was going to happen in the end. So I think that the study of the human structure and function just leads you to books and books and books and books, and even the computers are not big enough to take that knowledge.
The phenomenon of vision is actually an amazing process. A lot happens when you open your eye, and there's a whole complex process that occurs. The complexity of the whole visual system, as well as the highly ordered arrangement of it, just tells me this did not happen just by chance. It's something that was devised by the greatest, with all due respect, the greatest engineer, if I may say. If a rational person would look at the complex structure and the complexities around vision, which we accept as an everyday given, we just accept it, we just go about our normal daily routine and don't always understand what's happening right inside our our bodies. I'm sure that an objective person would know that there's something special that's happened there.
The evolution as such is not so much in something that we can actually understand, because we just see the footsteps. We see the ruins afterwards, over the centuries. And we make the adductions from a bone, which is the jawbone of an animal or something that existed some 50 million years ago. And we say, well, this is what it looked like. It's a bit awkward if I were to try and tell the students. He says, you see this little dust? That was my patient. And you say, what did he look like? Oh no, he was like that. Can't you see? So I think that from that point of view, one needs to understand that our knowledge is not supposed to be the total knowledge of what God has.
The first thing I ask people when they tell me about the Big Bang, I ask a person, if you think about the really powerful explosion, in my mind, when something explodes, it creates chaos. I have never seen any explosion that organizes itself in a highly organized fashion afterwards, and that you will get a lot of intelligence actually coming from an explosion. An explosion, in my mind, is a destructive process. So I'm actually amazed at how one can think of an explosion happening and then leading to a highly organized structured environment as we see around us. Leave alone getting to a complex structure like anatomical structure like the human body. And even leave that alone. What about the highly organized cellular arrangement that is required for an eye, for instance, which is just one little minute detail of the greater picture.
David in one of his psalms says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And in those days they didn't understand the physiology of what happens in the body, but they knew that this was something very special, and they attributed it, and I do too, to the working of God.
Science can lead you to see a little part of the wonder of the creation, and therefore of the existence of God.
A friend of mine was an agnostic, and I said, young man, if you come out the other side after dying, and you're going to look around, he says, oh gee, I didn't believe this. Then it's a bit late. Yeah.
I always say very much, tongue in cheek, evolution is an amazing subject. I don't know, you've got to have a lot of faith to believe in evolution.
So, what is life after all? You, I, we are ultimately all miracles. Life, birth, our human system, the greater cosmos and universe are not accidents, but a system so profound and so brilliant, the handiwork of the ultimate being with the ultimate intelligence, Hashem, our Creator, our God. So life, fundamentally, is a miracle the first time round. And Judaism teaches that the miracle of the revival of the dead, a rebirth, a resurrection, is not very different, but for a few structural details. It is the process of bringing life into creation by an omnipotent and all-powerful Creator. Arise, Awaken has led me to appreciate and to deepen my understanding, and to inspire optimism and hope where so many see darkness.